What's up, investors? You're watching the Bitcoin Plethora podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Peter McCormack, host of What Bitcoin Did. It's a very popular podcast. Be sure to check that out. There's links in the description to the What Bitcoin Did website, as well as a link to follow Peter on Twitter at Peter McCormack. Thank you for doing this, Peter.
Yeah, no worries, bro. I'm a bit disappointed with the inappropriate top you're wearing for this. I think you should have dressed up. I can't believe you're wearing a chili pepper shirt for this. It's highly inappropriate. I think you should have worn a suit.
That's right. That's right. It's a great joke too, because during the week, Peter got to sit down with the sitting president, Nayib Bukele, I believe it's pronounced, president of El Salvador, and he famously wore ripped jeans and a Metallica shirt, which I thought was awesome, man. I was like, this guy's real deal, you know.
Yeah, I got a lot of stick for that.
Yeah,
you know, the funny thing about it is, people are like, "You're so disrespectful." You know, you should be dressed better for a sitting president, blah, yada yada. And what they don't know is, like, I actually reached out to them and said, look, is there a dress code? Because I was running out of clothes. I'd been away for 6 weeks and I hadn't done my laundry. And they said, no, you wear whatever you want. And I was like, well, even a Metallica shirt? And they went, sure. And I was kind of joking, but I was like, you know what, I'm just going to fucking wear it. So they had no problem. They get it. It's just a bunch of other people who've got. Sure.
You know what, though? I really like Jack Mallers is like, he wears the hoodie, wears the flip. It just keeps you away from the traditional system. Like, it's this anti-traditional system, you know, the suit and everything. I really love it. You know, I love that. You know, it's a disconnect from what we're used to, you know?
Yeah, man. And I love the Chili's. So nice shirt, dude.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Old school Chili's shirt, that.
Yeah, that's right. Peters, you're from Bedford, England. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah.
We talked about, you know, you're the host of What Bitcoin Did podcast. Could you walk me through? I found that you went to community college to study digital marketing. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. I actually went to what happened was I went to university I wanted to work in the music industry. So funny little story. You'll like this. Most people don't give a shit. But when I was about 16, I started a fanzine. Remember the old fanzines? How old are you?
Yeah. I'm 37.
Yeah, so similar age. You're well, I say that you're 5 years younger, but it was before the internet, so I started a fanzine and I did like 4 issues. I used to go and interview bands and did some pretty cool ones. I interviewed Korn and Biohazard and Pantera. Yeah, I know. As a 16-year-old kid, it was like amazing. And then I went to university and I was like, I want to work in the music industry, and I did a music industry management course, which was a load of shit in the end. But I wanted to launch my fanzine again, and the internet had just started. I was like, well, this is like a really easy way to distribute it. So what happened was, as I stayed up in High Wycombe where I was for a summer, bought a book on HTML, like did this really shitty day job at this carpentry place. And then in the evening, I just go through this book, learning how to write HTML to build the website. So I finally kind of got the website built. And then my landlord was like, oh, can you build me a website? And it was like £500. And then another company asked me to do one. It was like £2,000. And bear in mind, I'm a broke fucking student. and then this company gets in touch with me. They'd like seen my name on a freelancer's message board. And there was like a .com startup. And they were like, can you come and code HTML for us? I was like, yeah. And they're like, look, we can only afford £900 a week. Is that okay? Bear in mind, I had a job in a pub at that point where I was getting, I don't know, like £4 an hour, probably less, maybe £3, like fuck all basically. And I was like, yeah, all right, I'll accept that. And I quit uni that day. I was like, fuck this, I'm going to go and earn some money.
Right.
And that was in my 3rd year.
That was in your 3rd year. And from there, after so you were interviewing some bands, and then you got into, what did you do after that, in between, before Bitcoin and before the podcast and everything?
Yeah, so I just stayed in the like digital marketing industry, building websites, and then I wasn't really a great coder. So when I had to go from HTML to learning JavaScript, I was like, what the fuck is this? It doesn't make any sense to me. And I built some Flash websites, that old Flash crap that used to have on the internet. And then I was like, look, I'm no good at this. I'll be better off being like an account manager. So I went on the account side, looking after clients and doing sales, and I ended up managing a digital agency, and then I set up my own one in London with my good buddy Oliver Morrison. We set up this agency called McCormack Morrison. That was back, God, I can't even remember. God, that was like 12 years ago, maybe. Yeah, I don't even remember. And we ran that for 8 years. Did pretty well. We got up to 40 staff in a central London office. A few million turnover, and then it collapsed in about a year. But we did well. We enjoyed it. It was good fun, and I found myself kind of like unemployed after that.
Right. All right. How did you get into Bitcoin? Like, how did you start that process, and what really made you pursue it as your career and life's work?
Yeah, so it was just all it's all just by chance, really, mate. So I worked in advertising, and I was surrounded by people who like to take drugs, and
right.
Somebody told me about this website called the Silk Road where you could buy drugs with Bitcoin. And I was like, this sounds amazing. What the hell are you on about? So they came around my house, they showed me this website, and they're like, yeah, you have to buy this internet currency called Bitcoin, and then you go onto this website and all the dealers are reviewed, so you can just get the best shit and it's delivered to your house. And I was like,
right.
this sounds like the best thing ever. So I bought some Bitcoin and bought some drugs, and eventually that website closed down. I didn't really pay too much attention to Bitcoin. I was just using it for the website. And then what happened is about 4 years later, my mum got sick. She had ovarian cancer. So I was like saying to my dad, because we wanted cannabis oil, and I was like, when I used to do a lot of drugs, well, this is how you do it. So we bought some more Bitcoin, and my company had collapsed. I just got divorced, and like everything was going to shit. And but I had some money left over from my company, and we bought the cannabis oil, and sadly my mum passed, but what happened was I was in Ireland at my mum and dad's, and we had this little bit of Bitcoin left, and I went to sell it back on Coinbase. And then there was this other thing called Ethereum. I was like, well, what the hell is this? So I started looking, and it was like this blockchain revolution that was about to happen. So so I was like, okay, cool. Well, I've got no job. I've got some money left over. So I invested. I bought Bitcoin and all these other shit coins and traded for a while. And it got to about November of that year. That was 2017. And I decided to start a podcast. And here we are today. Interview with the fucking president.
Right. I know. It must be wild. Right.
Dude, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I was just going to, for me right now, I've spent a good 30, 40 hours of my life watching you, right? And like now,
thank you, brother.
And now here you are, like I'm talking to you. It's kind of a surreal experience. Like I'm a little bit nervous. It's, it's weird.
Thank you, man.
I can't imagine, you got to sit down with a sitting president, man. That must be an amazing feeling,
Dude, it doesn't make any fucking sense, honestly.
Yeah.
I started this podcast as a hobby, and then it grew into a business, and it's grown into like this thing, which like the best way I can explain it is like you just said, like you're nervous, and like I can't objectively see myself. I'm still this fucking idiot from Bedford, right? Who will go down the park with his kids, and then will go down the pub with his mates and sit and watch the foot. Like I'm exactly the same, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't make any sense, and so I can't objectively see myself. But then there's like other people who seem to really like what I've done, and and it's a really hard thing to explain without sounding like a dick, right? but it's just become this thing that's like important to some people, and then I found myself in this position. Like I went for the interview, like I pursued to get it, but pursuing it and getting it are two different things. And like, I mean, the day of the interview, I was so fucking nervous, man. And I had this problem. I've got a herniated disc, so my back was absolutely screwed. And I got up in the morning, and like I went to get a coffee, and I couldn't sit down. I literally, the agony, I had sciatica all down my leg. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? The day I've got an interview, I can't actually sit down. So I reached out to my friend Michael Peterson in El Salvador. I was like, look, dude, have you got any painkillers? And I tried Nurofen and nothing happened. And then he turned up with like tramadol and a muscle relaxant. So I was like, right, I'll test it. I'll try it. And that worked. I could actually sit down. And then we got the taxi up to San Salvador. And then by the time I got there, I was in a lot of pain again. So by the time the interview came on, I was like, I had tramadol on me, a muscle relaxant, the president's brother had given me a whiskey because I wanted a drink, and I was pacing around just thinking, fucking hell, what is going on? And then, strangely enough, I sat down the interview and I wasn't nervous. It just, you can tell because if you look, I'm holding the piece of paper, but my hands aren't shaking. When I'm nervous, my hands are like this.
Right.
And I wasn't. But inside, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, what is this? Right. How am I in this situation? So it's really overwhelming, man. I can't make sense of it at all.
Yeah, it must be incredible. I mean, it's incredible to watch from an outsider. I can imagine being you. I was actually impressed by President Bukele's knowledge of Bitcoin and his outlook. His forward thinking. He had some great answers. I didn't get to watch the whole thing quite yet because you just released it this morning. But from what I saw like the first 35, 40 minutes. I was very impressed. Did you happen to learn anything from him? At all? Also, did you pick up? Is this the same process that other nations would have to take to adapt Bitcoin?
Yeah, good questions. Okay, so firstly, look, they get Bitcoin. They understand it, but the thing that really stood out to me, what he said was, he said this to me privately. He said, I've been accused of being an authoritarian, and he said, I could have launched a CBDC, created a sovereign currency, had complete control over it. He said, I don't want to do that. He said, Bitcoin is pure. It's perfect. It's a no-brainer. It brings economic freedom to the people of my country. And, and that really stuck with me. And look, I don't underestimate what it takes to run a country. It's very challenging. I could never do anything remotely near that. And I'm sure he has really tough decisions every day. But to go out there and adopt Bitcoin as a legal tender in your country, is a hugely bold move. So yeah, I was really impressed with his knowledge. But did I learn anything from him? I mean, it's more what I saw from him that I learned from him. I just saw a very impressive character, the kind of person it takes to run a country, and how he holds himself, how he carries himself, how he treats people, how he understands the world. He understands the world in a way that other politicians don't. Look at the bullshit we've got in this country. Fucking Boris Johnson and his cabinet of idiots. We've got, 78-year-old in charge of America. And here's a guy, 39, wears a backwards baseball cap, doesn't like to put on a suit, didn't give a fuck that I was in a Pink Floyd shirt, just gave the interview to me and not to CNN or Fox or any other major media outlet. He is in touch with the world. He sees where the world is going, and he's making decisions which appear to be the best for his country and his people, not what is the best for him. And that's the kind of politician we need now. But look, I am cautiously optimistic. I don't want to put him on a pedestal. At the same time, he might change. Other people have been very supportive of Bitcoin, and they've changed. We've had all the Elon Musk bullshit. So who knows? But yeah, and to answer your other question, I mean, of course. I mean, if this project is successful, other countries might consider it. And also other countries doing it, especially in the same region, become stronger. The more that adopt Bitcoin, the stronger they become, because they can trade in Bitcoin. They can have a similar agenda. They can also, as a group, they can, counter the effects of that the US has over the world with the dollar. So, of course, it's the more countries, the better.
Absolutely, yeah. And you brought up Elon Musk. That was the question I wanted to talk to you about, and that was the initial reason I wanted to talk to you. I was like, I figured it was a long shot, but I said, I'm going to try, because I came across a video of you talking. This is before El Salvador made it legal tenure. But Elon Musk had started with those tweets, right? And you had made a video, and it was a very powerful message in the video. You talked about the difference from your first time ever visiting El Salvador. Then there was a period where the pandemic didn't allow you to go there, and when you went back, you saw it. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, I should stop talking about Elon Musk. I mean, he doesn't give a shit about me, but it's just these are really important projects. Yeah, Bitcoin is a super important project. It brings economic freedom to the world. It's such a powerful and important technology. And there's people who've been working on really difficult problems with Bitcoin for years. and he comes along with his 58 million followers and starts disseminating misinformation regarding Bitcoin. And not only that, he then starts promoting Dogecoin, which doesn't make any fucking sense. It's a joke coin. It doesn't have the decentralization or the dev infrastructure. It's just not even comparable. It's like me going to him and saying, I don't know, some crappy old car from the 70s that doesn't drive anymore is comparable to a Tesla. It just really pissed me off because he's undermining the real hard work people are doing around the world to bring economic freedom to people just by being an idiot. And like, I'm a hypocrite because I troll online and I say stupid shit. I think there comes a time you have to realize that, what you say has an impact. I mean, I'm going through a process of trying to understand that myself. And look, I've only got like 300,000 followers. He's got 58 million. So yeah, I just think it just needs to stop being a dick all the time.
Right. But what about the experience? Like you said, from the very first time you went there to that progression, how powerful? I have no idea. I've never seen it. Like most of the people who watch this video could never see it. But what was that? What was the experience like with that?
Yeah, the first time I went was December 2019, and it was like a handful of kids getting paid in Bitcoin for like cleaning up rivers and doing, lifeguarding, and there was like 3 shops, like a shop, a pupuseria, and like a hairdressers that accepted Bitcoin. So it created this like circular economy. So the kids would earn Bitcoin, avoid joining the gangs, have an income, and be able to buy things. It was this tiny little thing. I was like, yeah, this is cute. They've done an interesting job. COVID happens, can't go there for 18 months, and I get back there, and this whole little town of 3,000 people has adopted Bitcoin pretty much. Like everywhere you go, there's a pay with Bitcoin sign. And it isn't just pay with Bitcoin. They want your Bitcoin. They understand Bitcoin. They get what it's about. So, yeah, it's really changed. And that's just like this tiny little seed. And now we have El Salvador making legal tender. And that project that is just in El Zonte needs to spread nationwide.
Right. And that's the influence, like, since, at least for me personally, since I've adapted Bitcoin, right? I live my life, right? I'm concerned with my health now, right? I watch what I eat. I want to exercise. I just want to be better. Because I feel like I have a currency with a purchasing power that's going to appreciate over time. So, I want to be around for that. So this is like impacted the way I live my life, right? And I feel like others have experienced that as well. And when you put that on a national stage or an international stage, I mean, the impact could be profound, right?
I mean, absolutely. Bitcoin is talking about this thing called time preference, that you should lower your time preference. Like, we live in a world of the money printer and easy money and easy credit, and that's changed the world in many ways which aren't great. Look, I can see you can make other arguments that maybe it's led to faster technological advancement and maybe faster drug development and medical products, because you can't just look at it. You can't just blame the crap that's happened, not look at the benefits. But at the same time, once you get Bitcoin, you do change that time preference. You think about saving. You realize that the asset you hold can appreciate in value. So you become more considerate about the things you purchase and buy, and and it gives you over time more purchasing power. Wouldn't it be great to bring that to a poorer country that has had a tough history? Look, El Salvador went through a civil war. It isn't a rich country, but it's a beautiful country with amazing people, great food, the sun, the sand, great surf. It's a great country. Wouldn't it be great if, like, some Bitcoin people have been through a 4-year period and their lives have been changed by holding Bitcoin? Wouldn't it be great for that to happen to a whole country? Yes. To literally raise up a whole country just because a country changed its time preference.
Right. It's pretty amazing. As well as like the humanitarian aspect, like as you're talking about it, like in America, and I'm sure in the UK as well, like we have it pretty good, right? We talk about it. We talk about inflation, like, right, where like the CPI went up 2%, right? Like, oh, I gotta, like, what's the impact of that for a lot of people? It's like, oh man, I can't go buy my new iPhone. I got to hold on, keep my Galaxy, right? But the implications and the spillover of inflation here, the spillover to the emerging dollarized nations, especially like El Salvador and some of the other Central American and South American countries, and they don't get stimulus checks, you know, you know, so the, you know, the inflation is profound in other areas. Is that pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, look, money printing isn't even great for the US. You know, it does tend to. I can't think they call the Cantillon effect or something, or I could be completely wrong, but like those nearest the money printer benefit the most. So it does drive inequality, but it is a tool that the government have for short-term solutions. But when they increase the money supply, and that does drive inflation, that just reduces the entire net wealth of a country that's dollarized like El Salvador. Things just get more expensive. You know, their imports get more expensive, and there isn't an injection of cash. So other countries end up in part paying for US policy. You know, and look, El Salvador has benefited from having the dollar for the last 20 years because they've had a stable currency. But at the moment, when the US is printing 40% of its supply within a year and debasing the currency, that has profound effects on a country like El Salvador. So it isn't surprising that they're looking at a solution. As Michael Saylor is looking at a solution for his melting iceberg of cash for his business, why wouldn't a country look at the same solution? Like Bitcoin allows you to hedge this. So it's not surprising they've taken this move. What's surprising for me is that other countries aren't doing the same with the same pace. And maybe it's happening in the background, but yeah, I mean, I don't think El Salvador is going to be an outlier on their own with this.
Right. Recently, a couple weeks ago, maybe you did a podcast with Harry Suddick. You were going over energy, right? And you know, he brought up a lot of different ways and resources that, you know, Bitcoin could be mined. One way that he did not mention, or at least
I know what you're going to say, dude,
was the geothermal volcanic, right? Geothermal mining.
Dude.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So they're actually like bringing something with them, right? Like a benefit to the network.
Dude, how wild is that? Volcano mining of Bitcoin. Like, yeah, as you're right, it didn't come up in my interview with Harry. Like, we didn't even think about it. And then here we are, El Salvador makes our announcement, and they're like, yeah, we've got all this geothermal energy. And we're going to, and you know, there's this talk of like volcano bonds to build out the mining of these. It's fucking wild, man. And you know what? A lot of people target Bitcoin with regards to energy because they say, oh, the Bitcoin uses more energy than, you know, Norway or whatever. And then they focus on, you know, the energy mix. Like nothing else gets as much focus on energy as Bitcoin does. Yeah, here we are, these sources of clean energy. Look, it's wild, man. It's so interesting.
So interesting. And I wonder, because, you know, we wouldn't even have known that until they got involved. Do some of these other emerging markets have something to add to that, right? Because it is still such a new space and evolving.
Well, listen, look, if these, like, no, let's put it a different way. Miners, right, compete basically on energy cost. They are always looking to find the cheapest energy possible because that's their highest cost, right? They reduce the cost of their energy, they increase their profits. And, you know, there's this general target of 2 cents. I think it's per kilowatt hour or whatever. And like, I might have that wrong, but whatever. You know, if they can go to somewhere like El Salvador and co-locate their mines at a volcano, or go to Paraguay and co-locate their mines at a hydro dam and get much cheaper power, they're going to do that. And what that's going to do is that's going to create jobs in those countries, and that's going to allow Bitcoin to be mined in those countries, and that's going to lead to more Bitcoin existing in those countries. Right. So to me, it's just a win-win for these. This makes these countries really competitive in the Bitcoin global market, and also it increases then the decentralization of miners. So I think it's a win all round.
I 100% agree. You know, and going into that, you know, the energy part, right? China just recently,
man,
they're banning it again. The way I'm looking at that is long term, you know, no problem. You know, I think it might be good for Bitcoin over a decade or more. We're going all the way for it, but in the short term, do you see that being a problem? Yesterday, I heard Jim Cramer. Not that I'm saying anybody should listen to Jim Cramer or anything, but he is like the symbol of a traditional investor. And he came out yesterday and said he sold most of his Bitcoin because he's afraid of China selling their muscle. Do you see that being a problem
No,
in
it's
the
good for
immediate?
Bitcoin.
Yeah,
That's good for Bitcoin. Look, one of the biggest arguments against Bitcoin that anti-Bitcoiners keep putting out there is that mining is centralized in China. Okay, great. Mining's now been switched off in China. So therefore, this is good. This is going to improve the decentralization of mining. And these miners in China, they're going to do one of a couple of things. They're going to completely shut and not mine anymore, or they're going to take their equipment, move to another country and mine there. So, I see this as a short-term change in the hash rate, but a long-term improvement in the decentralization of mining. Outside of that, like whether or not the miners mine or not, we still get a block every 10 minutes.
That's right. That's right.
So the network's still operations, the network's still running. It's a temporary change to the hash rate. Not a problem at all. To me, this is a positive. The only sad thing is like the people in China who could benefit from Bitcoin. It's like how difficult it is for them now. It's got nothing to do with the mining, but just like how much of the government going to, how oppressive are they going to be with their laws with regards to Bitcoin? Because everybody deserves, if they want it, to own it.
Right. How do you feel about mining councils? Like that word keeps popping up lately. How do you feel about that?
I mean, look, it's a complicated issue. I see what they're trying to do and I appreciate it. What they're trying to do is change the narrative. The narrative is, especially from the ESG crowd, is that Bitcoin is boiling the oceans, right? Now, we can stand there and just say, fuck off, you're full of shit, blah, blah, blah. But they're making a proactive step to say, okay, we're going to be completely transparent about our energy mix. So at any point when the FUD kicks up about the energy mix of Bitcoin, hopefully they can turn around and go, look, we have the cleanest energy mix of any sector, or, we are X% clean energy. Hopefully we'll shut up with all those weak ass journalists who haven't got the balls to do proper research. I mean, look, the thing that got pissed people off is the fact that it's a council and we don't have a good history in Bitcoin of these secret meetings and organized groups. But I think they recognize that now. It is just a data sharing exercise and let's see what it does. Right.
Yeah. Now Bitcoin is it's incredibly nuanced, right? Like there's a lot of variables, Now my question is another term I've been hearing a lot lately, like just observing on Twitter, on social media in general. Bitcoin toxicity is a term that I hear about, right? Do you feel like the early adapters and some of the people need to be more aware and open-minded with people that are learning and coming in to not kind of push people away a little bit?
Well, listen, there's a spectrum of Bitcoiners. That's what there is. And I've come to understand and appreciate aspects of toxicity and other aspects I don't like. So there's nuance to this. There have been many attacks on Bitcoin. People who have tried to fork it, change the protocol, influence it for their own corporate or personal agenda. And almost pretty much they've all failed. Okay. And this is a good thing, right? Bitcoin is the best form of money the world has ever existed. And that might sound hyperbolic and people listening might be, what the fuck's he on about? But once you've been down the rabbit hole and you really get Bitcoin, that starts to make sense. And then once you start to have skin in the game, like your net wealth is tied up in Bitcoin, all you want is it protected. So this toxicity is a layer of people who just hold every single person to account. If they think Michael Saylor is, going down a path they're not happy with, they'll go for him. They went for Elon Musk. They are protecting the network. And that's great. And especially if a country is adopting Bitcoin, you want to know that's protected from attacks by other Bitcoiners. Now, sometimes the way that appears is maybe if you're new to Bitcoin trying to learn that you say something, it's a bit dumb and people go fuck yourself. You know what you're doing. You're an idiot, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, yeah, it can be a bit tough, but there are other people out there who will help you and be supportive. Like my podcast isn't like that. My podcast tries to do as much as it can to help people understand these difficult subjects. I think we need both. Where I don't like it is now how sometimes it goes beyond Bitcoin. It goes towards diet, lifestyle choice, politics, and there are a group of people who will harass and attack people for having a different worldview than them on certain issues. I don't really like that, because Bitcoin is about a free open protocol, permissionless, censorship resistant. Anyone can plug in it to do what they want, and it doesn't matter if you're anarchist, libertarian, left wing, right wing. It still produces blocks every 10 minutes, and it still allows you to send Bitcoin to other people on it. When you start trying to shut down debate or topics around, other things outside of Bitcoin, and you start attacking them for that to me is kind of veering into dangerous territory. And I don't like shitcoins, right? But when you start doing that, you're in dangerous territory. You're making people scared to have opinions of things that have got fuck all to do with Bitcoin. And so I think it's nuanced. I think it's complex. I support the toxicity around protecting the protocol from attacks. I don't support toxicity around ideas which I think should be debated and discussed outside of Bitcoin.
Right. And you use it. Do you consider everything aside from Bitcoin a shitcoin, like all of them, or do you see any value in any blockchain technology outside of Bitcoin?
Mainly, I think it's all shit. But there's a bit of nuance. I don't mind Monero, and the reason I don't, Monero offers better privacy and fungibility than Bitcoin, in that it's easier to have privacy with Monero if you're not particularly technical. Now, there's plenty of people with Bitcoin who know how to be private on the network, but it's hard. There's a lot of work. It's complicated. With Monero, it kind of it comes out of the box. I could see there's certain transactions that I would want to make that I would rather use Monero because I don't have the skills to use Bitcoin privately. And that will piss some people off, but that's just fact. So I don't hate Monero. And look, also, I'm not a fan of Ethereum. I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't own it. I think it has long-term issues. But at the same time, I recognize parts of the Bitcoin network, not parts of the Bitcoin network, certain ways that people buy and sell Bitcoin relies on stable coins. It's essential, okay, for various reasons. And those stable coins exist on alternative protocols. So, for me to stand in this and be highly critical of Ethereum whilst not recognizing the fact that there is a benefit to having these stable coins, it's kind of hypocritical. But again, it's nuanced. I'd rather say, listen, I'm focused on Bitcoin. That's what I've dedicated my career to. If you want to go and trade shitcoins, go and trade them. I've just got no interest in it myself. It does get to other areas where it's even more cultish than Bitcoin. And it's people they've bought in early. So they're basically, a bit like Eric Weinstein said to me, they're speaking their book, Cardano or Ripple or, other shitcoins. And I don't have an interest in those. I think why are you trying to convince people this thing is more important than Bitcoin? It just isn't. It's absolute shite. So yeah, there's some, as with everything in this world, there's nuance.
Correct. I want to unpack something you said, but I think I heard you say it on your podcast, that when you hear about these projects, right, that say, we do this better than Bitcoin, the question that you need to ask is, what are you sacrificing to do that? Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of these claims they make are not necessarily accurate.
Yeah. They're usually trading off decentralization and or security.
Right.
That's what they're doing.
Right.
Bitcoin is the only meaningfully decentralized crypto project, if you ask me. And directionally, it's always trying to become more decentralized because it hasn't traded off block space for anything. Right.
Right.
And that has allowed it to become this thing that is impossible to turn off. Even Satoshi disappeared, right? We don't know who created it. We've got this amazing myth of this legend who created Bitcoin. Cardano, we know it's Charles Hoskinson. We know with Ethereum it's Vitalik, yada yada.
Right.
So yeah, it's funny. I have empathy. When I got into this in 2017, I was like, yeah, world of shitcoins. This is amazing. Yeah, blockchain's going to save the world. And over time I've realized it's just, most of it's just fucking nonsense. They're just glorified databases.
Right. You talked about stable coins this recently. Now, you didn't say this, but I sensed a little bit of concern when you were on your podcast with Jack Mallers about Tether. Maybe I'm way wrong. I don't know. But do you have any concern with Tether?
No, look, Tether's a complicated issue. And Tether are doing everything they can or should do to try and become more transparent, but everything they do opens like this second Pandora's box of things. I'll be honest, right now, I couldn't give you a very good explanation of the state of Tether. I need to spend some more time on it.
Okay.
At the same time, it is there, it is being used, and sometimes I don't know if the people are attacking it or people they really just want to attack Bitcoin, and this is another attack vector for them.
Right. Now, the role that stablecoins play, though, they're an important role, right? Especially in like for a nation like El Salvador and future nations that will adapt. What exactly does the stablecoins? What role do they play exactly in that?
Well, it's some exchanges. Historically, some exchanges struggle to get banking relationships. So what the stablecoin allowed people to do was trade in and outside of Bitcoin. So perhaps in your account, you would have Bitcoin and Tether, and you can trade in and out. I think also it's become a much easier way of moving dollars around the world. Moving dollars from bank to bank can be a nightmare. I mean, I did a job in Japan once. I tried to pay the guy. It was almost a nightmare. But it allows you to easily move dollars around the world. Also, it helps people in countries with high inflation. I've been to places like Cambodia and Venezuela where people want the dollar because they recognize a stable currency. Again, this allows them to have digital dollars. So, it just serves a purpose. It just makes money in some ways easier to move and more stable for the people who need an easier to move a more stable currency.
Great. Yeah, thank you for that one. My next question is about remittances, okay, and Lightning Network. This wouldn't be possible without the Lightning Network. Is that a correct statement? The whole
Depends what you're asking.
thing.
No. I mean, look, certain bits are, certain bits aren't. Bitcoin is made up of layers. The base layer is the settlement layer, and the second layer, Lightning, is the transactional layer. Bitcoin, this is what people don't understand. Bitcoin, by design, is slow, okay? And it's slow because it provides a huge amount of security to people who are transacting on the network. Like if you want to move 100,000 or $1 million or $10 million on the Bitcoin network, you want to trust that this network will keep it secure. And it does that with the blockchain, and it does by these layers of security that exist from miners, right? Absolutely, you should not be buying cups of coffee with that. And you need to keep the block size small so you can have maximum decentralization. So it should only be used sparingly for very important transactions. The Lightning Network allows you to do fast, near instant and free transactions. So if you're in El Salvador, if I was in El Salvador and I was buying a house with Bitcoin, I would still use the base chain. I would still want to ensure that I had the maximum security that comes from the base chain. If I'm buying a cup of coffee, which I have done in El Salvador, I'd use the Lightning Network.
Last question. How far away do you think we are from in the UK and the United States? Like how far away do you think we are from mass adoption? Bitcoin being either the settlement layer or possibly legal tenure. How far away from that are we? Like how early are we right now?
I think we're a long way from it because we live in countries with powerful governments who have a seat at the important tables, your G8s, your G7s, your UN security councils, all the institutions that come with that, the IMF, the World Bank. They've got no interest. There's no benefit for them on a political level having Bitcoin. It's actually a pain in the ass. Whereas somewhere like El Salvador, it's actually a weapon for them. It actually benefits the country, right? So I think we're a long way from it. I think some countries, like the US, is slightly different because of their state-based system. If you have brave politicians like who understand Bitcoin, they can push for it, and they have that regulatory arbitrage from state to state. If I live in LA and they have quite strict rules with Bitcoin, then I'll move out of California and I'll go to Florida or Texas or Wyoming, which has good laws. My choice in the UK is if we have crap laws, I only have a choice of leaving the country. which I'm considering anyway.
Right.
So there's no interest in supporting this. I've written to MPs, I've spoken to MPs. I'm like, dude, the biggest platform in the world for this is in Bedford in our country. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the benefits. But they've just got no fucking interest. So I think we're a long way. I think it gets to the point where they either do everything they can to outlaw it and close it down, or there's just this like acceptance that it exists and it slowly chips away at the role of the state.
What would it take for you to sell your Bitcoin? Would you ever consider? Is there a scenario that you would dump it?
I mean, look, it depends on its value. If I suddenly had millions and millions of dollars worth and I wanted to buy a house or treat myself to something, sure. I mean, I don't need a lot of money to live. I'm perfectly happy with my life now. And, I have a good standard of living. It's nothing overly flash, got some nice things. But I still have to, think about my money. I mean, yeah.
Well, I mean,
but what I'm trying to do here with my Bitcoin is I'm trying to build like a secure generational wealth change for my children and their children and their children. And hopefully this Bitcoin acts as a catalyst for giving those a more secure footing and teaching them about, financial responsibility. So I don't know. I mean, I might buy a nice car one day or a bigger house, but I'm not that bothered.
Right. But as far as like regulatory, like if the government started coming out and openly saying they're going to push back, would you just buckle down and hold with that in mind? This is for my kids, my grandkids, etc. Or would you be nervous and
all the government can do is create speed bumps. They can't switch it off. You can't kill Bitcoin. Look, the cat's out of the bag now. We have El Salvador. We're going to get other countries. They've realized they've got this regulatory arbitrage and the opportunity to bring wealth into their country. A lot of Bitcoiners might be looking at El Salvador thinking, what do you mean there's no capital gains tax? What do you mean there's low income tax? What do you mean there's low corporation tax? What do you mean there's a beach, sun, sand, sea, great lifestyle, cheap cost of living? Holy fuck, I can leave my shit rainy England and go and live in sunny El Salvador and buy a nice house by the beach, and I've got to pay no tax. Take my fucking Bitcoin, I'm going, right?
yeah.
And other countries are going to realize this, and so I don't think there's anything the UK government can do to make me sell it. What they can do is convince me that I want to leave the country.
Right. Yeah, you were talking about that. I heard you talking on another one where you said you really like Austin, right? Austin, Texas. Is that a place?
Like Austin, Texas. Yeah. Where are you, dude? Can you say?
Yeah, I'm from New Jersey. Yeah, north. I'm about 30 minutes outside of Manhattan.
From Jersey.
Yeah.
From Jersey. How you doing?
How you doing?
How you doing?
Yeah.
Fucking knucklehead.
How similar is the cultures? Like, because you get to go back and forth. Like the temperature within the Bitcoin community, is Bitcoin as far along as it is in America, in the United Kingdom, or?
Oh no, it's way ahead in America. Way ahead. Yeah. Okay. But listen, we speak the same language. We're really different people. We have completely different sense of humor. We don't have First and Second Amendment. We're very subservient to the government. It's dead. I spent a lot of time in both, and I like them for different reasons. Like I like the UK for European football, and I like the UK for our sense of humor, right? But I love the US for the way people treat me. I'm treated so well there. Everyone's so nice. I fucking love Texas. I love, I don't want a gun, but I definitely want to go and have the barbecue. And, the great thing about America is it's like 50 different countries. You can go, in the UK, everywhere you go, it's like green fields and sheep. You go out to the US and you could be in California for the sun. You can be up in the mountains. You go to Yosemite. You can go to New Orleans. You can go to like New York. Everything's so fucking different. I love it. I love going.
Yeah. Now you're talking about government, right? And that kind of institution, right? And it is a little different, UK and in America. Recently, you talked to on your podcast Michael Malice, right? And he's an anarchist. I thought that was very interesting content. I know how do you feel about that? And did you think any differently after talking to him?
Yeah, I mean, look, like I am certainly at that place in my life where I am like having my world turned upside down, thinking about things a lot differently. Like before Bitcoin, I was just somebody who's like, okay, there is government. We have the left and the right. We do a vote every 4 years, and yeah, whatever. And now I'm like realizing, hold on, like everything I thought was real, I'm now questioning. I'm questioning the media. I'm questioning education. I'm questioning diet, because I've realized like we spend most of our life being bullshitted to. You know, the government isn't meant to be as big as it is. It isn't meant to be there to mother us and be a nanny state and operate surveillance exercises on us. It's not meant to do that, and it has become that. And therefore, you know, the education comes from the government, and you realize, hold on, some of this is fucking propaganda. They're brainwashing our kids. You know, in terms of diet, the things they're telling us like that we should have had previously, and now we're finding out there's absolute bullshit. You know, the way the government. I'm trying to think how best to explain this. The best way I can say is that I now realize I should question everything.
Right.
You know, you tell me I should wear a mask. Well, why should I wear a mask? You know, what's the evidence? Like, why are you telling me to do these things? So Michael Malice came at a time where I was already questioning things. He helped me with some answers. I still got other things I need to question, but yeah, I'm really on a journey down this kind of like questioning everything rabbit hole.
Right. Yeah, I really agree. That was great. That was really great content. And if you were just getting started, right, today, you let's say you're a newcomer, who are some of the people that you would advise somebody to get familiar with their work, to learn, and you know, and pick this stuff up?
Yeah, I mean, look, I would go and read everything by Vijay Boyapati. He wrote The Bullish Case for Bitcoin. I would go and check out Safedine Moose's book, The Bitcoin Standard. I would listen to my podcast. I'd listen to Marty Bent's podcast. I would listen to John Vallis's podcast. I would listen to Stefan Rivera's podcast. Yeah, you know, when you go and check out those podcasts, the people they're interviewing are the people you want to follow, and they'll help you.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I think on Twitter, don't you have a group too that you have like all the don't you have a list, right? Yeah,
I've got a list of good people worth following. If my Twitter's at Peter McCormack, and you go onto my list, you'll see that.
Yeah, that's right. Make sure you follow Peter and check that list out. You know, what you're doing is great. Now let's get into some music. It says you got you know your Twitter profile is two things. It says Bitcoin plus metal. So yeah, what? Now you freaked me out a little earlier in the video. You said you had interviewed Pantera. Is that while Dimebag Darrell was still alive?
Yeah, dude, a long time ago. I mean, it was Vinnie Paul I interviewed, okay, and that was just a surreal moment. Yeah, I mean, I the first metal song I got into was Europe's The Final Countdown. I was like, what is this? And then I discovered Bon Jovi. I bought New Jersey, funny enough.
Right, yeah.
Kicking off with Bad Medicine.
Yeah.
And then Iron Maiden released Bring Your Daughter to a Slaughter. So I got into Iron Maiden. And then I got into Guns N' Roses. And then but the game changers, I discovered this band Biohazard. I don't know if you remember them, like Brooklyn, New York, motherfuckers. Yeah. And I was like, what is this? It was kind of like a bit rap, a bit metal. And then I got really into the hardcore scene, and I'm still really into hardcore. I'm really into metalcore. I like Earth Crisis. I like Norma Jean, Ghost Inside, Polaris. God, who else do I listen to? Ignite, which is a bit different. But yeah, like hardcore and metalcore, that's pretty much my thing. Architects, big fan of the Architects.
Yeah. I saw you did you jumped on a live stream with that guy Richard Hart, or like for a minute.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah. And you but it was funny though, because you went, you know, it's a shame because you look like my idol Axl Rose, and I had me die.
He does, man.
I was like, wow, he really does. Yeah, especially old Axl, right?
Yeah, old Axl. Yeah, he does, man. But fuck that guy. He's a scammer.
Yeah. I'm not, you know. But I thought that was pretty funny. Now, do you get to go to shows? Or are you not a concert goer?
Oh no, dude, I love shows. We haven't had any for ages, man, because of like what's been going on. But I had tickets going to see Guns N' Roses in London, but that didn't happen. So I haven't been to one for a while. The one I'm looking forward to is the Ghost Inside are meant to be coming over here to play Brixton, and that's been put back twice. But yeah, man, I need to get back out there. I need some concerts, dude.
I know. I can't wait.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, are you a reader? Do you have any books to recommend to anybody?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm more of an audiobook guy. I'll tell you what I've got at the moment, my Audible. I recently did The Four Agreements, which was really beneficial to me and kind of like thinking about the way I need to behave. I've got lined up The War of Art. I was reading On Anarchism by Noam Chomsky, preparing for my Malice interview. I've been working my way through The Anatomy of Fascism. I've been doing The Sovereign Individual. I mean, that's a good selection of books, dude.
Yeah, that's great. It's great. Yeah, especially The Four Agreements. That was one of the early books that really was kind of helped change my life. Helped get me on the right path. I love that book.
I need to go back to it, dude. I did it, and I was like, wow. And I stuck to it for a while, and then a couple of times. The one that always sticks me was be impeccable with your word. And every now and again, I like get in a situation or talk, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm not being impeccable with my word.
Yeah. That also the one that don't take things personally. Like I would always attach that and take things that was like a real big, helped me develop as a person. Like getting that, like like wait a minute, I got nothing to do with this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it's hard, dude. It's hard because people are fucking mean, especially online.
I know. Yeah, I don't read the comments.
Don't read the comments.
Yeah, never. Well, Peter, thank you so much for doing this, man.
I loved it, brother.
Man, it was a great time. I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you guys for watching. Just hang on for 1 second. I'm going to sign off. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys tap that like button and subscribe. Make sure you follow Peter on Twitter at Peter McCormack and whatbitcoindid.com. All the podcasts are there. They're also on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. It's personally my favorite Bitcoin podcast. So definitely check that out. And again, thank you so much, Peter, for doing this.
Appreciate it, brother. I'm going to go and watch the soccer. So love you and leave you.